So,
So, right.
where do we even begin? Where to begin?
Really. I can see now why you guys said to me at the beginning you two have both different views on this. Because the way that was written, I don't think there was anything essentially wrong with how it was written. Let me preface that before I start. However, because of the subject and how things went in the plot itself, you could take it in
Two different ways?
hey 3 or 4 different ways.
Yeah,
As to you know, dealing with sensitivity, and it does come across that people it comes up across as both that it is about people who are overly sensitive about things, and it comes across as people who are not sensitive enough about what they say,
yeah,
and it kind of clashes in the middle. And
yeah.
as a result, you've got that sort of thing where, well, people are going to go down one of the 3 paths. Either you think it's all about people being too sensitive, and then you're likely to, think that it's a bit of a commentary on that, or alternatively, it's Sonic being a jerk, in which case you form a specific opinion about that. So, yeah. Who wants to start off this horrible, ghastly can of worms that is inevitably going to transpire?
Well, I mean, you want to start, Kat? I don't mind. Um,
Cat?
is she there?
I think that's the side of not really wanting to talk about this.
Oh, I can't blame her.
No.
It's a very awkward subject.
Yeah. I'm not particularly comfortable talking about it, to be honest.
I mean, I have no problem talking about it since they already kind of made it a thing in this episode anyway, but it's really just how you approach things. Um, for some people, like, it comes off as Sonic was being a jerk. He was being, you know, he wasn't being sensitive enough. And then others can look at the way of, Sonic's side and say, oh, well, he didn't really do anything wrong. Like, he was just being, you know, he was just being honest. He was kind of keeping Mike safe, and he didn't want to see him get harmed or anything because he doesn't feel like Mike was have the capability to not really contribute much, but like he wouldn't have the capability to help other than the sense of like having superpowers and stuff like that. Like everyone who's battling Eggman has superpowers, and like Sonic can run fast and spin dash and all this, and Tails has got his equipment, and then he can fly and all this, and they have the ender beams, and Amy with her hammer, and Knuckles with his fists and strength, Sticks with her boomerang and all that. They all have special powers that helps them take down Eggman. Mike doesn't. And that's what Sonic was really trying to get the point across, was that Mike can't really handle being in a battle with Eggman, and he doesn't want him to get hurt as a result. And that's the point I think Sonic was trying to make. Wasn't necessarily try to be. He wasn't trying to be insensitive. He was more like trying to be protective. And however, I can see why people would interpret that otherwise, because they didn't really make that message clear. Like there was so many different messages that came from this episode that I can definitely see why people would have different vibes from it. Me personally, it was more along the lines of, you know what? There's everyone was kind of overreacting to this. Not really so much. I mean, I could have understand at first, like them condoning Sonic at first, like they did. But when they had the news reports and then the sensitivity training happened, and that's when I felt like, okay, yeah, there's, and not to mention Knuckles getting away with calling Sonic having a dumb mouth. That being not being insensitive, but not getting away, being able to get away with it. Where Sonic says something, he can't get away with being a jerk, but everyone else can. I think that's the problem I have with. That was probably the flaw I had with this episode was that not necessarily Sonic being a jerk shouldn't be condoned. No, that's the thing is that he was the only one being condoned for it, and even though everyone else was getting kind of jerky as well, like you know, like I said, Knuckles getting jerky towards Sonic having a dumb mouth when really like that wasn't necessary. Then you have everyone interrupting Sonic and not him not being able to get a word in. Like we never got to hear Sonic's side of it. Like he never really got to say his piece. Everyone else got to say their piece, but not Sonic. And it's not to say I'm defending Sonic in terms of like what he said. It's more along the lines of I wouldn't have really said it in the way he said it, but more along the lines of how everyone else was handling it wasn't exactly the way I would have handled it. I think everyone else deserves a bit of credit for being just as kind of jerky at times as well, just as much as Sonic was.
No, yeah, this is definitely an episode where if I mean you can't really go into. It's difficult to go into like cartoon and go, okay, this situation is the fault of this person. It's even more difficult to go into it and go, this situation is the fault of everybody.
Yeah.
In terms of... Yeah.
And I think that's where because like earlier on, I said along the lines of, like, no one learned anything. And this was pretty much what I meant was, like, not just the lessons of different ways you could interpret this, but even as a whole, it's like, no one really said I'm sorry, and if they did, it wasn't really for the right reason, so to speak. I mean, to be fair, Sonic does say I'm sorry for what he said. And that's the thing, is like he says I'm sorry for saying just a guy. But no one cares. Like, no one paid any mind to it. And instead he just ends up being put over into the sensitivity training again. Even though he didn't do anything wrong. He even apologized. But everyone just got jerky about it, and at that point it was along the lines of, okay, now it's getting kind of overdone. Like, now they really are making a big deal out of nothing. And what Kat has been getting at before, like, I could understand where she was getting at, and I agree. I think that's what it's supposed to, like, represent and all, and I don't think that was the way to go about it. Like, I think even it was kind of rubbed in our faces, so to speak, and when I say no lessons was really learned, it was more along the lines of no one really felt like they did anything wrong. Everyone was jerks toward each other. No one felt like no one really apologized except for Sonic and at one point, and that ended up just being ignored.
Yeah. Kat's not able to speak at the moment, guys. Although she's messaged me something along the lines of her thoughts on the subject, whether or not she wants me to voice those. I'm trying to figure out at the moment. The thing that I thought the episode should have been about, if it was going to be about this at all, and that would have been an interesting take on it, and they sort of teetered on it, and then moved away from it entirely. If the show had been about the media and the media's, how the media can be, can blow things out of proportion and things like that, which I thought it was going to be at one point, because you had Saw come in, it was like 24 hours after he said this thing. And I thought from there it was going to be along the lines of, okay, it's going to be about, how, the media, if it's not responsible enough, being, all about blowing things out of proportion, and then it becomes this self-fueling thing, and in the end, maybe all Saw cared about was then, making the headlines, and not about the people who were involved, and maybe it was going to be a little bit of a commentary on that.
Yeah.
And instead, okay, let's break it down. Okay, so Sonic says a thing. Sonic, in Sonic's mind, makes a reasonable point. Actually, it's even before that. Actually, it's like Knuckles has plans. Knuckles is doing a thing. Can you guys do something? No, you do this thing. So I'm with my friend. I have my own time. No, you're doing this in Eggman. No, I'm pretty sure you can handle him without Eggman. Handle it without Knuckles. One time, he's with his friend. We're not allowed to have other friends.
I mean, it's just I don't really. I mean, I love the comedy in this. That made up, I think, for the very awkward writing in terms of like the plot and all. I mean, I think the comedy made it for it at least, but that was probably the one big flaw that this episode had, was just everyone was coming off as jerks, and it really just downplayed what the episode was really about. It was like Sonic had said a remark, everyone was upset about it, but it became more and more blown up out of proportion, and it just became ridiculous at that point.
Yeah.
And then Amy didn't like. I honestly was annoyed at Amy at the end, just being all like, "Hey, we figured we would let you alone so you can." No, that had nothing to do with it. Like, that had absolutely nothing to do. Like, you completely ignored everything Sonic said. Everyone is not listening to Sonic.
No one listened to Knuckles. No one listened to Sonic. No one listened. No one listened. Or rather, people heard what they wanted to hear. It
was just like, I didn't like how that was presented. Like, I think if they were going to go about this route of Sonic saying something and people being upset, I would say it should have been a bit more rude. Like, what Sonic said should have been more rude.
I liked that Sonic lost it. I think it was a quite justifiable move for Sonic to actually go, you know what? Screw this. Screw this, screw that, and screw everything. I've had enough. I'm out. Because Sonic had a point in that, hi, you don't exactly thank me for this nonsense, and I'm the one that's doing this, all the time, and have been doing it for years, and thanks a lot for not thanking me and jumping on me the first sign of anything.
Like, it's like I said, like, during the commentary, like, I was laying in bed watching the episode when it originally aired on Cartoon Network, and when I heard Sonic losing it and just basically just being tired of everyone's BS, like, and he just stormed out, I actually clapped, like, openly clapped. It was just like, Sonic, thank you, because that's exactly what I was thinking. Everyone's all obsessing about Sonic not having compassion when he saves the damn village every freaking week. And then you have Blue with Envy, where it's just like everyone just pushes Sonic away and banishes him, even though it's obvious who was in the right and who was in the wrong.
I mean, it's both of them are a good example of what I said at the time with Blue with Envy, is in that it is a case with the village are the mirror for the general public, in that you can do anything you like. You can be the hero today, the hero tomorrow, the hero for the rest, the hero from Monday to Saturday. Sunday comes round, and it's what have you done for me lately. And as a result, it's, I mean, you can say it's holding up a mirror to like the modern society with, you know, with this sort of instant reaction and everything else. But see, everyone made mistakes in this. But I mean, there's okay. Let's get away from this if we can, because we've been talking about this for a while. Although I would really love to read what Kat's written, because it puts it so much better than I can possibly do so. I really need Kat. I know you're on the call. I really need you to say if I can read this, because I wouldn't want to read that without your permission. Going to the good things about the episode. You know,
that again thing.
Yeah, there's. How do I put this? Right, I think actually, in fairness, in terms of actually good things, I think it. Whether on we don't, you know, none of us could possibly, I think, agree overall on our position on the writing. However, I do think it was good and that it was a brave thing to do.
Yeah.
For a 10-minute kids cartoon, it's not the best platform to do it.
Pretty much.
Yeah. In fact, you could quite easily say there's no way in hell you should have. But in terms of good things, the little dream sequences I liked, the little happy places. I love that Tails' happy place was Tails just flying through the air. You know, Tails flying and Tails flying fast, because you know that's the character. The character is always, if you know the character's history, obviously flight is his thing, but his thing is that he wants to be as fast as Sonic. He wants to be as fast as his big bro, because he looks up to Sonic. Why wouldn't Tails' happy place be flying through the air as fast as he can go? And you know, I mean, judging by that, at, you know, sort of Sonic-like speeds. That was nice. I don't know what the hell was going on with Sticks.
Six was at the sensitivity training, like, and she really did. This is another episode actually where she didn't get a lot of attention. She didn't have a single line, I don't think. And her, I don't even know what the hell her dream was. But I mean, Sonic going into his happy place, and Lady Walrus going, "My baby," again. Somebody save my baby again. Like I couldn't stop laughing. Like that was exactly again what I was thinking. Like, and it's the self-awareness of the show never ceases to amaze me, and I love it. And it's like I said, despite the very, very awkward writing, like the message I think the show was trying to put across, the comedy made up for it. Everyone's gonna be everyone's talking about the jokes the show had, not what was the plot. And that's the important thing. Is like if you're able to get away with something like that, and still manage to put smiles on people's faces because of the jokes that you included, you know, during the course of that episode, I can give you credit for that, because that's very impressive. Not many people can get away with that. Not many shows can get away with that. The Sonic cosplaying joke that happened has become pretty much the memorable thing from this episode. Not what was written, not the message that was being sent across, not how everyone was acting. It was that joke. And that's the whole point of the show, was to provide laughs. The writing...
So who was Sonic?
That we don't know. Some are hoping it was Roger Craig Smith in the costume, but I'm hoping that if Bill can tell us, I would love if he could tell us who it was.
I honestly can't tell.
Yeah, I can't tell either, because
I thought it might have been Alan initially.
Yeah, there are pictures everywhere of him putting the trash bag in the can, but I couldn't. You can't really tell who it is. And if Bill or
Would
Alan or someone who's listening can
would
tell us
the
who it is,
would the in quotation marks real Sonic please stand up?
please stand up. Please stand up.
Hmm.
But like
Um, yeah, other good things. Like I said, I think the Sonic snapping was
that was another
was
highlight.
justified. It was nice to it was a different bit of range for the character, and I appreciate that.
Sonic was finally done with what everyone was
Yeah,
doing to him. He was finally done, and honestly, at that point, I was feeling the same way.
yeah.
And could not blame him for doing that. He was fully justified.
Hmm.
And you know what? I honestly wish he had honed his retirement down pat more,
Hmm.
because I think only then people might would have felt like, you know what, we need Sonic. He may not have been like, it really would have put a better lesson, I think, than what
Yeah,
was
yeah.
actually delivered, like a better message.
It's I think I mean other good things though apart from that. I did like that it involved the village so much. Actually,
Yeah, I mean, even though
I like that I like the subject that it dealt with Sonic's place within the village as local hero or not, as the case may be.
yeah,
Um,
it's not particularly something you see often, and it really does flesh out the characters, and it's really great to see something like this happen. In terms of like giving up the setting life and
yeah.
things happening, even if it's not a good thing, it's still something nevertheless. Um, Personally, I would have preferred it was on a better note, and a
Hmm.
lot of the stuff is kind of bittersweet considering the circumstances. But
I would say bittersweet is a good description actually for a number of aspects of this episode. In
yeah,
that
it's just,
you can see the good idea there, and at the same time you're going, but why was it done here on this?
like, why it was just a lot of whys here. Did why was everyone such a jerk toward each other? Why was Amy just constantly trying to, like, at this point it was like Amy had more of an ego than Sonic did.
Amy, I think this is actually one of the few times where, and this is a very unusual thing as well for these two guys, and it's only because of the situation and the plot that line that was being followed, but I actually think Amy was written really badly in this episode. I think
Honestly,
this
I
is
agree.
probably the worst written Amy in the series so far, and that's simply because of the position she was. Yes, we know that she likes to see herself as the counselor, but unfortunately, you know, in
She,
an episode where everyone is technically being a jerk, Amy is the one who most legitimately sees herself as honestly trying to help. But as a result,
she kind of
she
makes
kind
things
of
worse in a
she
way.
does Amy does make things worse. The character Amy as a character makes things worse. It's also it also goes against Amy that she didn't give any backing to Sonic.
She's usually the type that will not necessarily. She will tell Sonic you messed up,
Yeah.
but she won't go to this kind of
She wouldn't
extremes.
she like outright condemned Sonic for it. And that goes against it goes against the character, it goes against it goes against the character in terms of Boom, and it goes against the character in terms of the history of the characters.
Yeah, like
You know,
it's just it, Amy doesn't really have an ego. She thinks she is the counselor, but she doesn't think she's all that, and she's the one that's always helping and always like she's the kind of person that will well she will help someone, but she's not gonna like
Mm.
just constantly make herself the center of attention and make it like she did everything herself when it's
Yeah,
obvious she didn't.
yeah. I mean, we had that little bit at the end where like Amy, where they kind of went, yeah, like, yay, we did it when weren't involved at all.
Like she did nothing.
Yeah. And
All she did
the
was
fact that
piss
the fact
Sonic
that
off
Sonic,
even
the fact
more.
that Sonic commented on it, not in the way that he should have done.
He should like honestly, if I had heard if Amy had said it to me, I would have been like, Amy, you're the reason why I walked away in the first place. As
We
blunt as
also
that sounds,
completely abandoned the Knuckles thing. I've just realised. Right, the whole point was that Knuckles wanted to go with his friend and do a thing. At which point they didn't go and do the thing, and in fact Knuckles didn't say another thing in the episode. If you're setting it up that Knuckles is part of the catalyst for everything, you kind of need to then follow up on it at the end by, bringing it full circle. Because otherwise, it's like, the catalyst for this, or admittedly, the catalyst is Mike. Is Mike, but Knuckles is kind of involved in that whole thing.
I'd say Knuckles was the only one in character. Like, well, not really the only one in character, but like out of all Sonic's friends, Knuckles was probably the most in character. Even though he was all like Sonic in his dumb mouth, it's Knuckles. Like he's always been that blunt in the series, so I expect that.
We
But
we didn't get to see Knuckles' happy place, and that makes me really sad.
I just imagine Knuckles in his happy place, and he's just mayor and approving everything, and then just enjoying things, and just
Oh no,
you know.
no! I apologise. Knuckles did say something because he spoke to Comedy Chimp, and it was like, I like hitting things too. It's like, what was Comedy Chimp? What was Fastidious Beaver doing there if Fastidious Beaver wasn't going to say anything? It didn't. I mean, was Fastidious Beaver just there to sort of make up numbers and show that other people were involved? It made no sense if like. It was just like, hey, it's Sonic's gang and the two most prominent sort of secondary characters, not counting Lady Walrus, my baby.
Again.
Again.
That was still a good moment. Like it's like I said,
nice. That was nice.
it's like I said. It's not my favorite episode, but it was still had some of the funniest jokes in the series. And again, like this is where bittersweet really comes into play because, like, as great as the jokes were, if it had great like character writing and all that, this would have been probably one of my favorite episodes of all time in the series because that was how great the humor was. Even though the plot writing was just so awkward and everyone was just jerky, which is something out of the ordinary. Like when everyone is like that, there's a problem. But the fact that there was still, even despite that, it had some of the funniest jokes so far in the show. I can give loads of credit for that. That made up for what the writing was like, because at least those were timed perfectly and were brilliantly done. Do I consider it? Is it my absolute favorite episode? No, but was it my favorite episode comedically, like humorously? Yes. I think it's really how you look at it. Like if you look at it from a comedic standpoint, it was a hit. But if you look at it from a story plot standpoint, I don't think it went that well, and I just didn't like how everyone was written. Or well, I'd say Sonic was the highlight of this episode, beyond any shadow of doubt, because he was the one that took all the flack, and he handled it almost exactly how I would have reacted. And he honestly said that breakdown he had, that angry breakdown he had, was honestly the best part he's had in this entire series. Just on the basis of he's tired of having everyone's BS. Like and
I yeah.
he couldn't take it anymore.
I mean, I mean, thinking when you I'll just sort of step back and almost a little bit and just think of like Sonic's journey through that episode. Sonic goes from it's like he's initially angry with Knuckles because it's like this is to him is important and it's much more important than it's to him it's the sacrifices that they make. Then of course there's the mistake, and then there's the journey of sort of trying to undo the mistake, even though he doesn't necessarily think it's a mistake, and he knows that everyone's just sort of taken it the wrong way, and Sonic's desperately trying to apologise and make everyone else feel better about the situation, if you like. And then there's that whole process of he tries to make up for it and he just makes it worse, and in the end it's just like I say, there's like just what do you want from me?
Yeah, that's what basically. Yeah, that is basically when it came down to. It's like Sonic couldn't do anything right in this episode because everyone else just wasn't. It was because of how everyone else felt. Like no one. It's just one of those episodes where the character just can't do anything right, no matter how compassionate it is, no matter how sensitive he is. Everyone's still being more insensitive about being sensitive, and it just. And poor, like, I really felt bad for Sonic, and then at the end, like, he didn't deserve any of that. I mean, he might have deserved, like, maybe a... I mean, he might have deserved a, you know what, you shouldn't have said that, but to get this hammered down his throat so much for almost 11 minutes was kind of overdoing it.
I think, I mean, the problem is, you cannot do a high. You can't do a high concept, high social commentary episode of 6 to 12-year-old bracket children's cartoon in 10 minutes. It's brave to do so. And, thinking of it that way, I mean, it's super impressive in a way that they would have the balls to do that with a children's cartoon for 10 minutes long.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really work.
In this case, it really didn't work.
And the result is, I mean, everyone will inevitably go on about the moment, which, by the way, I found sort of, I did understand that. What I did understand is that in the commentary, that they had indeed gone one too far in terms of backwards through reality. I still went, because it was like
out of nowhere.
Yeah, because actually, my immediate thought was actually it's like, okay, if this is the happy place outside of the happy place outside of the happy place, why is Sonic putting the trash out? Sonic, if it was like the Sonic's happy place outside of reality, why would Sonic be putting the trash out?
I don't know.
It just made no sense. Was it really just a case of quick, we need somewhere to film? There's the alley behind the office. I really think it was that. But okay, so end of the day, brave to do what they're doing. Everyone will just end up concentrating on that gag.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that I'm able to forgive what happened because the jokes were hilarious.
Yeah. And
it was the funniest in the show for a lot of people. Me personally, I don't think it really deserved the meme status it's becoming quickly. I mean, it's not that great, like in the sense that it's the best thing ever happened to the franchise or anything like that. Like quite a few people are making it out to be. But it was still very funny, and it was still the funniest of the show. I do think people are blowing the joke out of proportion a bit.
Yeah, it'll become what the episode is known for.
Yeah.
It's not what it should be known for. I honestly have no idea how somebody within the target age group would have even taken that episode. I
Yeah,
honestly
that's the
don't.
thing.
I do not understand. There would be a lot of stuff I would have thought that someone of the age group, specifically the younger, they had no freaking clue what was really going on there, or the level of where the guys were trying to write the episode and where they wanted it to go. I have no
That
idea.
See, that's the thing that I can understand here. Is that a a crowd of children, which is what the show was trying to appeal to, they probably wouldn't see that any kind of
No,
message
they
at all,
wouldn't
and
get the
probably
message
wouldn't
of
have
that. I
cared
don't
either
think.
way. Like they'll just see it. Oh, it's a funny show. Look at all the pretty colors and all this stuff. Basically, how I felt.
Well, it's not put it that way. I mean, it's not, they've probably got they probably enjoyed Sonic getting angry. If there'd have been, okay, the positioning of the Lady Walrus gag is perfect for the
Yeah,
series, because you're at the point within the series that, we're past halfway and stuff, that you can start going, aha, because these things keep occurring, like Amy in one of the previous episodes, taking taking the mickey out of the fact that there's so little detail about actually where they are, like Mayor Fink going, like, waiting for the episode to start and then, making a comment that, no, seriously, we need to get the episode going on, because otherwise stuff occurring. Knuckles doing the same thing in the Mayor Knuckles episode, and waiting for something to happen because he knows that if something bad's going to happen, it'll happen immediately after he says it, because rule of comedy. Knuckles being self-aware about that. And there's been a couple of other things as well. What didn't why that works is because you've built that up and it's appeared quite frequently, as opposed to what we had with the Gogabas. One of the reasons the Gogabas failed in that regard was that they had a very, very strong presence in their second appearance, and their appearance was entirely related on you having seen the previous episode. And if you didn't, it made no sense. Whereas Lady Walrus was spread out all the way through it, and it is a recurring joke, and what happened. And I like the fact that the Lady Walrus actually was sort of whatever about it. So yeah, so that was good, but you can't realistically. You can't. I'd love to. I say I'd love to know. I almost don't want to know, because I'd be quite happy to actually put this episode on the side and just go, you know what? This is just going to be a bit. It's going to be one of those we just sort of look at and go, And it's not because it's a bad episode in terms of writing necessarily, but it is a bad episode in terms of, well, what were you trying to do really? And I'd like to know what the mindset was, and at the same time I really wouldn't, if you see what I mean.
yeah. I mean,
I'd like Moorish to know, what their take on it was, but in doing so, it'll mean talking about this again, and I don't know, Donnie. I really don't. Which is probably the point. Actually, is that, none of us really know where to go with this.
it's just I recall being like when I was a kid and how much I didn't really pay attention to those kind of matters. It was more along the lines of it's a funny show, colorful, funny show though. Oh look, looks funny. Oh that looks cool. That was pretty much it. Like it wasn't. I never really gave things much thought because I didn't really have the mindset at that time. Nowadays, obviously, we do.
Mm.
You know,
Because the older fans can see the big picture of the episode. Let's just put it that way. We can see the big picture of that, and we can see what they're trying to do with the writing. And like I said, I'm not necessarily saying they really succeeded or failed, really, but as a result, you know, we look at it in a different way. I've got a request for the people who are going to put a comment at the end of this video. Okay. If you are going to, I mean, I'm not going to say don't put a comment on this video. I would say be careful how you, and I know this is going to be very difficult for YouTube, some YouTube commenters. Have a good, if you're going to put a comment on this video and it's about how the episode looked to you, have a good think before you write it. If you can, actually, I would be interested, just like put in brackets at the end of it, how old you are. Because where I think your age will have some kind of merit, and it'll just be interesting to put. So we might not even go into this in terms of
future
feedback, just because it's that kind of thing that, like I say, hey, it's making all of us feel really awkward here, just because we can see how it could go, but.
Yeah, it's just the subject matter is so awkward, and maybe we're just maybe we're just looking into it too much. For all we know, we might be looking into it too much because we're adults and we think a lot more about a children's show and all this. But it's just the way the plot was written out and how everyone behaved, how Amy was just so full of herself for most of this episode, you know, and how Sonic did what he could do, all he could do to really try to solve the situation. But everyone else was just not having any of it. It gets you thinking.
Yeah, I would say in all sincerity, if the team are surprised by our reactions and that, hey, we're overthinking it. If anyone on that team thinks we're overthinking it, they didn't think it through enough. Because this is the exact reaction that, like I say, we all watched it separately. Kat came up with her opinion on it and is, you know, kind of and uncomfortable with it. Donnie, you watched it obviously separately before anyone, and you were uncomfortable with it.
Yeah,
and I watched it with you guys for the first time. And you can tell in the commentary that, you know, I'm sort of going, yeah, and I'm uncomfortable with it. So clearly,
something didn't quite hit home.
But yeah, would be interested to know if anybody felt similar in terms of the uncomfortable. Would be interested to know what direction you took it as. You don't necessarily need to go into a great amount of detail, but which of those paths that we mentioned at the beginning you kind of fell into. None of them are necessarily wrong, none of them are necessarily right, because it's based upon your own personal view of things. Would be interested to know the age. And obviously would generally be interested to know about what you think of the commentary. This is one of the rare commentary videos in terms of the pre-shows where it goes on a long time and is serious.
Yeah, because we don't have these discussions often.
Not often.
Instead, we end up really just screwing around and having a good time.
And and the fact that I'm re-energized and like is a good clue that, you know, this should fly a big flag for people anyway. That, you know, this was So, hey,
It,
so
it,
sorry, it's not entertaining.
it's just well, I mean, it's like I said, the Sonic, the cosplaying Sonic part, the Baby Wars part, those were hilarious.
Actually, yeah. Thank you for reminding me of that. Just baby Boris flying off into the distance, just tumbling away into space. It felt almost like a very generic effect. The spinning, and it was beautiful for that.
See, that's the thing about this show, and see, yeah, that's the thing about this show, and why we love it so much is that even though it still goes in such a serious route like it did for us, we still are able to laugh at the show. We're still able to have a good time, even if it's a serious subject. They made such great humor and make great jokes in the show that it kind of keeps us, what is it like, at ease. And that's just like, I care about the humor of the show. Even though the plot writing got very, very awkward for me and uncomfortable, and I'm sure it got, like you said, it got uncomfortable for not all of us, the jokes hit home so well that I can at least make up for it, because that's the whole point of the show, is to be comedy. And it had the comedy. It may have taken a serious route in terms of writing, but in terms of the humor, it was spot on.
Maybe,
and that's what I see from this show.
Maybe that's the way we should look at this, because the humor, because it's always been said, and it's been said by the Boom Team. We've reiterated this, that at its heart, what it's supposed to be is a comedy show, and if the show doesn't make you laugh, and again you've said this before, then it's failed. The show made us laugh
multiple times.
There was some really good bits. There are bits that when we look back on the series, they're going to stand out as, that was one of the best jokes.
It's like I said, when people are so when people react to that trash bag joke so much like they've had, even if it's not quite the way I would have expected, at the very least, people thought that was a funny joke, and that was one of the best jokes people laughed at. I heard like the Kevin and Donnie 456 and Tails show. I was in a call with them when they first saw that joke, and they lost it in pure laughter because it's just how random and yet outrageously funny that was, and brilliantly timed.
It's almost a bit of a shame, because I know for a fact that they kind of got trumped on the suddenly a real life moment within a cartoon. Because I know they kind of got trumped on this, the Boom Team, by the MLP team. Because I know that in the Friendship is Magic episode 100 that they did, various members of the team appeared in like a freeze frame in like horse masks. And it was like suddenly in the middle of this there was like 2 or 3 seconds of like real life in the middle of the cartoon. So it's almost like the Boom Team got trumped on that in a way. But as I was saying, the point is that it's a comedy show. The point is that that you laughed. Did we laugh at points? Yes.
Yes.
Was there fantastic jokes in there? There were several.
Yeah.
But
I mean, the writing may have failed in a sense, but it also had the best humor that we've seen in quite a while in this episode.
But, and this is the point I really want to make. Number one, it felt like. No, with the show, we've always sort of said, okay, number one is make people laugh. This episode did not feel like number one was make people laugh. It felt like it was number two, make people laugh, and number one was, we're going to make this point. And as a result, that's one of the reasons why we're in the situation we're in with this episode.
They took a route that they don't normally take for the show, and as brave as it was, I don't think it was the way to go about it. I think if they had taken a much more comedic aspect of it instead of, you know, the way they, like I said, it was just the way everyone behaved. You know, Sonic may have had his remarks, and it was kind of annoying how, you know, at first he really didn't quite apologize for it, even if he felt like he wasn't in the wrong, which I honestly felt like he wasn't really in the wrong because he wasn't really, like I said, he wasn't trying to be insensitive. He was just trying to be protective.
Mm.
Um, and and then you, like I said, you had Amy just being full of it and having a huge ego, which is not Amy at all. You had
Is Amy bossy? Bossy, yes. Is she take charge? Yes. But is she suddenly, I am the queen of everything, I will save you all? No. She's not.
Like the final straw for me that really turned me off of Amy's writing in this episode was at the end where she was all like, "Boy, you know, all this time we wanted to leave you alone, so because we knew you'd save the day." It's like, no, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
You
That's
didn't.
not even a mistake. That's a lie.
That's an absolute lie.
That's
I
an
mean,
absolute lie.
for all we know, she probably like there wasn't even any time for them.
Yeah,
Like,
we left you alone in the 10 seconds.
yeah, like there was no way you could have really done that. And not to mention, like I said, it's pretty obvious who was the hero here.
Hmm.
And again, it's just the point I was holding. Like no one learned anything.
Yeah.
And even though Sonic went on this tangent and feeling unappreciated and feeling like everyone was just demanding and being disrespectful, just even more than he was, he still gets nothing for it in return. And honestly, the villagers even though the villagers didn't really get his point and what he was trying to say originally, the fact that they still said we had you wrong, that's honestly more compassion he got from. That's the most compassion he's gotten compared to his friends. Like you think his own friends would actually be standing up for him more, like they did for Swifty.
That was an element of. I mean, it was done for sake of convenience with time and plot. Really.
Yeah. See, that's the
it
thing
kind of sacrificed on the altar of the plot all the character relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the thing too that I could give Blue with Envy credit for, even though it kind of had a similar situation where everyone was jerks. At the very least, Sonic's friends realized, wait, Sonic didn't do anything wrong, and it was justifiable why he didn't like him.
They were quick to
see the error of their ways.
They were quick to see through the illusion of the coolness that Swifty had sort of manifested, and sort of the spell that he'd put them under with, hey, you know, radical speed. But
here, like they were just like, Sonic, you can't do anything right. Basically,
nobody in this episode could do right for doing wrong. They really couldn't. Every single character,
like
every single character except Orbot. Okay,
Orbot did nothing wrong.
Orbot did nothing. Orbot didn't speak. Orbot didn't move. Cubot managed to break somebody's leg.
Orbot is the best. Orbot is the nicest character in Sonic Boom. Confirmed.
Yeah. No, Orbot's not nice. Cubot's the nicest. Remember, Orbot's got quite the. I was going to say quite the vicious tongue, but he doesn't have a tongue. Quite the vicious vocal processing unit. But yeah, so in this episode, ultimately, everybody lost. Really, everybody.
That's what I mean. It's like no one really won, and
the baby won. Baby Walrus won because Baby Walrus lived.
Yeah.
There we go.
Again.
Saw won because Saw got a story out of it.
Yeah.
So the media wins. Well, hey.
Yeah.
And on that bombshell, let's leave it there.
Yeah, because I think we can't really touch upon this any further.
Exhausted this.
Yeah, because at this point it's like, I really did not like
And
the.
and yeah, in a way, doesn't in a way that sums up everything. In that we've exhausted everything, and yet there is still things we can actually get angry about with this episode, even though it feels like we've exhausted everything.
Yeah, because
And
it's
it's,
just the way it was painted.
and it's 10 minutes, 11 with credits,
I
and we've been talking for an hour, and we've not really said anything about, you know, what
it's like
we
I said,
normally
Sonic was the
talk
highlight.
about.
It's like I said, Sonic was the highlight of this episode because honestly, he was the least offensive in this.
Sonic was almost the most natural.
He was like Sonic really showed his most Sonic side in this. I mean, yeah, he got very angry, but to be honest, wouldn't you have gotten angry too after
Yeah.
everything you've dealt with
Yeah.
at that point?
And then again, at the same time, Sonic's to blame too because Sonic didn't want initially Sonic didn't want to acknowledge that what he said would have been insensitive. Sonic didn't want anything to do with that, and it was only because peer pressure from everybody else was like, no, you're wrong, and that made Sonic go, oh, okay, that was wrong, was it? So Sonic's to everyone's to blame, and no more. No more. It's been a very long day. And we've still got... What day is it today?
It's Wednesday.
It's gone to Thursday for me. But, we've still got 2 more of these shows left.
I don't think they're gonna go quite this route.
No.
Again.
No.
There's
Yes.
there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just gonna say like the final 2 episodes that we have coming up. One of which is supposed to involve Knuckles meeting his smarter self. There's no way that like it can't get this.
If you get that
serious.
wrong. Right. Yesterday... Okay, all seriousness. Yesterday, I started the day going, hey, this? We want more of this. Today, it was, hey, this? We want none of this. No
I mean,
more.
like the only thing, like I said, the main thing I want this episode that I want to carry on is the humor, that the IRL Sonic, the my baby again bit, the whole bit about their dreams, like the humor in this episode was what I want to carry onward,
Yeah.
not the seriousness of it, because that's not Sonic Boom. That's not the episode I like to watch, And if you really want to kind of put this message about, don't make it the focal point.
Yeah. And
humor should be the focal point.
don't do it in a kids TV, in a happy-go-lucky kids TV show. Because no. Yeah.
Here's the thing. It kind of reminds me a bit of how Sonic '06 went, a bit, in terms of seriousness.
We've invoked Sonic 06. Okay. If we've invoked Sonic 06, we're talking about this episode. No. It's all wrong.
We've gone to that path now, ladies and
Wait,
gentlemen.
did this episode erase itself from history? Because if so, it's fine.
That would be kind of comical if it did.
Oh.
And it almost did, I think. Because it was like, everyone was just like, yeah, you know what, nothing happened at the end. But, and to be fair, no, wait, the continuity thing, remember? Where they had to lose continuity, so that in a way, this kind of didn't happen in a way. Not all of it, anyway.
This may not necessarily be the healthiest thing to do. Okay. Because it's an important discussion that should happen, but I don't really want it to happen because awkward. But I'm going to, and this is not necessarily the most mature thing to do, I'm going to pretend that it didn't happen. This episode.
I'm gonna be honest, I can't really blame you because this episode really just... I only want to remember it for the jokes.
There's gonna come a point.
Hilarious jokes.
There's gonna come a point in time where I'm gonna sit down and I'm gonna have time, and I'm gonna the series start to finish again, and then I'm going to like actually put things in a chart of episode. What episode did I think was best and worst, and then I'm gonna come to this episode, and I'm not going to want to watch it again. Even with Buster, I'd watch it again for that purpose. So I'm going to come to this one, and I'm going to hesitate. And I'm not going to hesitate because it's a bad episode. I'm going to hesitate because it's a bad concept that shouldn't have been associated with this series.
I just don't really think this was the way to hammer a point down. It's not we're saying that you shouldn't, hammer this point. It's just, it wasn't really done correctly, so to speak. And even then, it really should have been about the humor. And it kind of wasn't. I mean, like I said, there was humor to be had here, but I think the whole point of the episode kind of overshadowed it. Fortunately, though, it seems like everyone's remembering this episode not because of that, but because of the jokes, which was the whole point of this series. And that's what I'm grateful about.
Yeah, we should. So in a way, we should be grateful for that. At the same time, we should go.
Lesson learned.
Yeah, but actually, that's not what it was about. And let's not pretend that it wasn't. That's what it was about, because it was.
Yeah, because it's like I said, I'm glad the show was able to make me laugh, even though I can look past the awkward uncomfort that the show had, because it still managed to make me laugh. I honestly forgot. It took me the second time to realize what exactly Amy said at the end, with what she said, and I didn't remember that because all I could remember was the jokes that this episode had.
I completely did a double take on what Amy said. I didn't say it on the comment, but I really just went internally, huh? It
took me to see the episode again to actually realize what Amy said and what a lot of people said, and how really bad it was in terms of the plot writing.
And Slick still didn't get any props.
Yeah, I mean,
really, it's like, it wasn't even a return to. It wasn't even a situation with the series where it was like end of episode, return to status quo. It was end of episode, and we've reached something of a conclusion, but it's not returned to the status quo, and the problems are still there.
Yeah, the problems are still there. Like, everyone's still, like, SpongeBob. I saw Spongic X on SMP. For some reason, that came in my head. It's like I said, it's blue with envy, but if it took a lot more of a serious route, it was.
It's notable that you can put those two side by side, and specifically do a direct comparison because of those elements.
Like, I just now saw like the message like I was referring to about Spongic and all that. He was saying, like, I was kind of saying what I was saying just now, but a lot more sum things up. And I was saying, like, he was saying, like, what do you mean? The old monkey told Sonic, I guess we were wrong, you were better than us, and they showed gratitude. That's kind of an apology. Admitting you were wrong.
That's just, like, completely undermines the point that the public made initially, which was, you can't say that the way that you did. And it basically just went, you know what, hey, you are much better than us. We're not people compared to you. And it's just like, why? Oh, jeez. Okay, no more. I'm ending the show.
Like, we just like.
no, seriously, no more, no more.
Like
on this
we're
subject.
just we can't really touch upon this anymore.
Yeah,
Like
no,
it's
yeah,
just
no,
we've said what we need to
done,
say.
done. Please, please like this video, even if it's out of sympathy for us. Out of sympathy for us, because we've just been talking about this, and you know, it's not a, in much the same way that the subject matter isn't a ha-ha subject matter, this wasn't a ha-ha post-show, although in some places it was, for just our individual reactions, I think. Mostly mine, because I'm weird. So it's we've got, so please like that, please comment, but on this occasion only just use the guidelines we kind of said, just because yeah, we don't want to really drag this out. Would be interested to know.
There's going to be
Honestly,
interesting comments related to this.
I think there'll be interesting feedback on this.
Yeah,
and again,
probably,
I hope it's understood where we're all coming from,
like,
as to why we think this way.
Yeah, we mean no harm, of course.
In fact, I mean the team know that. The team know that. But I think we all think there was a major misstep here. And it was almost as if we want to have our high concept episode within the series, and not this way.
The good news is I don't think it'll happen again.
We saw in Mere Knuckles, we can have social commentary with the free healthcare comments. Yeah, but this episode, for whatever reason, somehow lost its way, and as a result, it's going to be a bit of a black sheep in the series. People will see it for what it is in terms of the humour. A lot of people will see it for what it is in terms of the concept. Please like, please comment, and please subscribe. We'll be back tomorrow. What's the episode tomorrow, Donnie?
Well, it's too good to be true.
Too good.
And I do believe that is the Knuckles, double Knuckles.
Multiple Knuckles. If you wanted more Knuckles in the series,
you're going to get it.
The Boom Team obligeth you.
Yep, and with smart Knuckles too.
We'll be back tomorrow with less political wrangling. And social comment grandizing. And
yes, thank God.
Generally
having a good time and just boom.
Generally a good fun TV show. Bye everybody.
Bye.